Hello everyone, Mona West here, and today I'm going to show you how to make the Regina bracelet. This is the third video in a series of three showing how to use these little components, little squares that are made of cubic right angle weave, into a couple of different pieces. So in the first video I showed how to make the components themselves. In the second video I showed how to make the Regina earring, and then in this video I'm going to show you how to make the bracelet. So if you'd like to make this bracelet, make sure that you have seen part 1 of this series on how to make the component, because we're going to start right in making the rest of the bracelet, assuming that you already know how to make the component. So let's see what materials we'll need. To make a 7-inch bracelet, you are going to need 7 of the square components. And in addition, you will need more of the number 11 seed beads. You're going to need a few number 15 seed beads in the same color. And then you're going to need the color that is on the face, the second color. And you will need some 3mm bicones. I'm again using the same colors I did in the 2 previous videos, the Starlight for both the number 11 and number 15 seed beads, the silver lined ruby number 11 Delicas, and Siam 3mm Swarovski crystals. In addition, you will of course still need the same thread that you used for the components. If your wrist is larger or smaller than about 7 inches, you will need to add or subtract components. And each component, when finished, is about 1 inch across. So that's why I say you can pretty much just go by that. So if you have an 8-inch wrist, you'll probably need 8 components. If you have a 6-inch wrist, you'll need 6. So get your stuff together and let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to put some of these little bicones, one between each of the segments. So to do that, I'm going to close in a little bit here. I need to go through the bead that is at the very apex right here. This is going to be a bead that goes from front to back. So work your way around until you're coming through that. Okay, and now I am going to pick up a number 15, a 3mm bicone, and another number 15. And again, the number 15s again help to just kind of hide some more of the thread and also help protect the thread from the sharp edges of the crystal. So now I am going to pick up my second component and I am going to go through the exact same bead in the center of that component, so that what we have now is this. Okay, and I double check, and yes, my bicone is going the same way. Now we need to strengthen this. We're going to go back through here. So the first thing I'm going to do is, instead of going right back, I am going to, similar to what we did in the earring tutorial, if you saw that one, is we're going to go around some of these beads on the face here. So there's a square right here. I'm going to go through the first 2 beads of that square. And I'm not too worried about keeping things real snug here yet. So it doesn't matter if there's a lot of slack. I'm going to go up through the 3rd bead and then through the 4th. And what this does is it kind of distributes some of the stress of the connection so that it isn't all just on these beads here. By going around here, we're kind of spreading that out. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to go through that center bead that we went through before again. Pull it tight. Now I'm going to go back through the 15 3mm bicone and the 15. Okay, so I've gone back through those. Now I am going to go through the number 11 in the center, and I'm going to go through the 4 beads in the square closest, again to distribute some of that stress. And there's the 4th bead. Okay. You probably notice there's a little piece of thread just hanging here, and that actually is from where I tied on to begin connecting these squares. So I'm going to get rid of that because I've already gotten it caught up in my thread, my working thread. Okay, so there's number 1. Now we're going to do that another 5 times until we have them all connected. So I'm not going to do all of that on camera, but what I do want to show you is kind of a how to get from here over to here. If you already feel really comfortable with this, then go for it. But if you're not, all we're really doing, okay, I'm coming out right here, right now, is I am going to look for a path to weave my way around. So I'm going to go through here, and then, see there, I've gotten 3 beads kind of in a row. Try to make it a little faster, so you don't have to go through a bead, just 1 bead at a time. You go through this bead and that bead. And then I'm going to go through these 2 up here. And then I'm going to turn this corner here and go through a couple beads at a time till I get to this next corner, because that's where I'm aiming for. All right, now I am once again at that apex bead. Oh, one other thing, this will easily twist and turn, and so you could end up with something like this. Don't worry about it, because the next step when we connect these will prevent that from ever happening. But right now, since this is all just pretty free, don't worry about if some of them end up looking like they're kind of a combination like that. All right, so join together all your squares in that way, and then come back and we'll do the next step. All right, I have my 7 components all connected now, so we're going to begin the next part, which is joining, making the half loops across the top and the bottom. So I am coming out of, once again, what we've done before, the bead that is right in the middle, right there. But now I need to work my way around, so I'm coming out here. Because I'm left-handed, I want to be starting with the bead on the left. Go in a little closer here. All right, so I'm just going to go around. And really the only thing you need to be careful of here is you're keeping this face up. So you don't want to be have this face up. And I'll show you why. Let's get started here. So this now is what I'm working off of. And it's really pretty straightforward. There aren't going to be any corners with this or anything. You're just making a straight piece of cubic right angle weave. Easy peasy. All right, so picking up 3 beads. Okay, so there's number 1. Now I'm going to go through bead 2. I'm going to pick up 2 beads. I'm going to go through the last bead added to bead 1 and through bead 2. Okay, so I've gone through bead 2, so I'm going to pick up 2 more beads, go through the last bead added to bead 1, and now through bead 2, and it's starting to get a little tight in here. So I'm going to pull this through, and now I'm going to go through bead 3, pick up 2 more beads, go through the last bead added, number 2, and through number 3. Now I'm going to go through bead 4, go up through the first bead added to bead 1. Now it's time to pick up our red Delica, and we're going to go down through the last bead added, bead 3, through bead 4, turn this a little bit here, through bead 4, and back up through the first bead added to bead 1. You are going to get caught on the other components once in a while, so just watch that. Okay, now I know I'm doing this the right way because my red Delicas are on this side and the red Delica in the beginning of the loop is on this side. So you're just going to keep doing that until you have 6 units, so you'll have 6 red Delicas here. So I'm going to go off camera and finish this, and then I will show you how we're going to attach it there. All right, here we are. I've got my 6 units, and now what I'm going to do is just the way we would attach the 4th leg to the first when we were making the squares. We're going to use the same technique now to connect the first square to the second. So again, where we're going to be working towards is this right here. This is the last unit, and here is our center bead, just like before. So I am going to be going pretty much like, see how much I can show this, but like this. So we're again going to be looking to see what beads we need to add. I'm going to move this around to get a better angle. What beads we need to add in order to connect these 2 units together. This is a little awkward because I'm trying to make sure you can see it, but it is pretty much what we did before, because remember I showed you how to do it starting with the outside unit. So we've got a bead up here and a bead down here, so we're going to add a bead, and we're going to go straight through the same bead on the side we're attaching to, pick up 1 more, and now we're going to go through the first bead again. We pull it tight, and there we have it. I'm going to go around this again because we only have the thread going through it once, and so to firm it up I'm going to go through it again. Okay, now I'm going to move to the face and I'm going to see what we need here. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3 beads. So I'm going to go through my red Delica. And then I'm going to add 1 bead. All right, now we've got this face finished. So we've got 1, 2 faces finished. I'm going to move around to the back, find a path for my thread, okay, so here I am on the back, and I've got 1, 2, 3 beads here, so I'm going to work my way down. I'm going to add my 4th bead. I'm going to go around that again to secure it. Okay, I went through a couple of the beads again to make it firm. All right, so now all I have left to do is to go through the 4 beads on the inside. Don't have to add any more beads. Just connect the ones that are there. And I know this is really hard to see. It's again one of those things that's easier to do than to show someone. But you will see where the beads aren't connected. You'll be able to tell that they're loose. All right, so there is our first segment done. Now you're going to repeat that for the other segments, and then when you get to the end, so over to this one, come back and we'll do the end and then the bottom. Okay, we are now at the end of the last component. So we start making another oval, or what would look like we were going to start another oval. So we do 3 units, just as we did before. And now we are going to change directions and we're going to go down. This is going to be a little different than what we did in the components, because when we changed directions to make the corner, we were always going up. But it's very easy to make the change. All you have to do is pick up 2 gold and 1 red Delica, because this is the first bead of the unit, so we always pick up 3. And I'm going to go through bead 1 and bead 2. Okay, so see, here we have the red Delica has changed directions, and that's exactly what we wanted. So now I'm going to pick up 2 gold beads. And I go through the last bead added in bead 1, excuse me, and through bead 2. I'm going to go through bead 3. Pick up 2 gold beads, and I'm going to go through the last bead added in the second bead and through bead 3. Now I'm going to go through bead 4, up through the red Delica because that was the first bead added in the first stitch. And now I'm going to be adding a gold bead because we already have a red bead, and we never put more than one red bead on except at the very beginning of a square. So one more gold bead, and then I'm going to go down, last bead added in stitch 3, and through bead 4. And then back up through the red Delica we just added. Okay, so now I have started our downward journey. So all I need to do is to go through the 4 beads on top here. And back through bead 1. So now we need a total of 5 units going down. So it's going to come off of this side here. And then once we have the 5 units, we're going to again change directions, and we're going to end up down at the bottom here. So I've got 4 more to do because I already have one here. So I'm going to do 3 regular ones, and then the last one, and then it'll be time to make the turn. I now have my 5 units going down, so now I am ready to make my last turn, and then I will be connecting to the bottom of this square component. Now, because again we are going to be going this way rather than this way as we did in our components, we're once again going to be adding the Delica to the first stitch instead of to the third. So I have the 2 gold beads and Delica on my needle, and now I am going to go through bead 1, and now through bead, I'm going to go through bead 2, add 2 gold beads, through bead 3, and although this is a corner, since we've already put in our red Delica, we just do the rest of this the usual way. So 2 gold beads, through bead 4, and then I'm going to go up through that first bead we added in the first stitch, and since we put the red Delica on in the first stitch, our last stitch, number 4, will be another gold. I go down through the last bead in the third stitch and through bead 4, and then I'm going to go up through that Delica that we added in the first stitch, and now I'm going to go around the top. So through beads 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and they're all gold on top because we're doing a corner unit. And back through bead 1. So we have our 5 units going down. We have just made the first bead in this corner unit, so we have the first one to now go this way. And so now we're just going to add 2 more, and then I'm going to attach it here as we usually do at the bottom of this component. Here I am now. I have attached this leg to this component, and then I wove my way back around here. And now I am at 1, 2, 3, the third bead in, the third Delica bead in. So since there are 5 along here, it's easy to tell the center. It's just number 3. And that makes me directly across from the edge of this component, which I now am going to connect, because when the clasp is going to attach here. And so we need to have these 2 pieces well attached so that we don't end up with this happening. We want it to be strong here. So the first thing I'm going to do is to go through, again a little closer here, go through the red Delica here, and then I'm going to go through that apex bead on the other side. Now I'm going to turn it over, and I'm right here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to weave my way around this little square here, and again that's going to help to distribute the stress so that it isn't all pulling on just this one bead on the end. So here we go. There's bead 1. Bead 2, and I am pulling it up snug, bead 3, and bead 4. Now I'm going to go back through that apex bead. It's back in here, a little hard to see now because everything's pulled in tight. Now I'm on the front side, so here I'm going to go through these 4 beads on the top. There's 1, 2, and 3, 4. Now I'm going to cross, and I'm going to go on this side and do the same thing. I'm just going to go through a few beads on the top here to make sure that this is also nice and snugged up and strong. Okay, there we go. That should do it. It's yeah, it's a good connection now, nice and strong. So our next part, and in fact the last thing on this side, is we're going to put in the clasp. So this is a multi-strand clasp. So we have 3 little holes here that we're going to be connecting. And there's no way I can give you an exact explanation of where these should go. You'll just have to kind of look and see. So it looks like I'm about to run out of thread, so I'm probably going to change my thread. And then what I'm going to do is I'm look and see if this is pretty much in the middle. Okay, so the middle, since there are 5 of these red Delica beads, again, I know the middle one is going to be right here where this red Delica is. And so I'm just going to figure from that kind of how far over where I should put the one on the end. So I'm going to add more thread, and then we'll do that. All right, I have put on some new thread, and so here I am. I have just come through this middle bead here. I wove my way up here because I saw that this is what I needed, where I needed to put my first part of the clasp on. So for this, I'm going to use some 15 O's. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up 3 15 O's. And let's see, I can work this so I can keep it in your line of sight best. I'm going to go through the little hole in the clasp. I'm going to pull the thread through. And now I am going to put on another 3 beads. And actually these holes are big enough that the beads just go through pretty easily. So I could actually just put on all 6 of them rather than 3 on each side. But that's not always the case, that they'll easily go through the hole like that. Just depends on the size of the beads and the size of the holes. Okay, so I have them on, and now I'm going to go through the other side, or rather the same side I came through on here. And I'm double checking to make sure that everything's facing the right way, because this clasp does have a right side and a wrong side. So I want to make sure the right side is on the right side of the bracelet. So now I'm going to do my circle here to spread out the stress so that it's not all on just this one point. So I'm going through the square of beads right below. Now I'm going to go up through all the beads in the clasp again. I'm going to go through this top bead right here. And then up through the 6 beads that go through the hole in the clasp. Through the clasp to the other side. And then once I'm through the 6 beads on the clasp, okay, and once I'm through the 6 beads on the clasp, I'm now going to repeat that procedure on the back side of going through one of the right angle units. And then I'm going to go up through the beads on the clasp again. So that way we'll have 3 passes of thread going through the clasp. I do not like things coming apart. I like to make sure they're secure. And your thread will try and get caught on all these little edges. You just have to keep working with it. Okay, so I have finished one. Now I'm going to weave my way down to this middle middle right here, because that's where our next part of the clasp is attached. So I'm just going to weave through the beads till I'm to that point. Okay, I'm in the right place, so now I'm going to go through the bead on the top, the very edge, center edge, and now I'm going to, since my thread is coming out this way, I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to pick up 6 beads. And now I'm going to go through the hole in the clasp, pull my thread through, and now I'm going to go back through this center bead again onto the back, where I will repeat going around this cubic right angle weave, or rather through this right angle weave section right here. Okay, now I'm going to go back up through my 6 number 15s, and through the clasp, through the rest of my number 16, excuse me, my number 15s. And now I'm going to pull it snug, weave my way around a right angle weave unit on top, Now, one last time, I'm going to go through the number 15s and through the hole in the clasp, through the remainder of the number 15s, and now all that is left is to weave my way down to where the last hole in the clasp is. And that is right here, so I'm in position now. I'm going to go through the bead in the center, it will take me back to this side. And I need 6 more number 15s. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to go back up through the hole in the clasp. Bring down my number 15s, which slid to the end. And now I'm going to go back through that center bead. Okay, so now I am going to weave my way around a right angle weave unit. On the front. I'll make my second pass up through the number 15s. Through the hole in the clasp, through the remainder of the 15s. And now I'm going to weave my way around a right angle weave unit on the back. And then I'm going to go up through my number 15s and the hole in the clasp for third time. And back through the bead at the top where all of this started. Okay, now I am going to finish off my thread here, but what you'll need to do then is to weave your way down here and begin doing the loops on the bottom. I have already finished mine. And then once you've done that, you can tie off your thread and you will be done. So here is the finished bracelet, and here is also the earring that is part of this set. So that completes this set. If you're interested, I have this pattern up on Etsy. At the credits at the end, it gives the site, the name of my store, but it's basically JoyfulHeartPatterns. If you're interested, it also includes a necklace, which is similar to this. This was a really interesting project and time-consuming, but not too terribly difficult, actually. I am in the future going to do some more, a couple more series based on this square. Different colors, different patterns, but all based on using this little component, because it's been really fun, and I've came up with a number of different ideas of very different sorts of jewelry that can be made from this. Thanks for watching.